I've dedicated this based on the struggle that Mama Winnie has raised. It was a class struggle in context. So I want to contextualize the challenges, the struggles that we were confronted in South Africa. So it's important for us to ensure that we research about our heritage, because the colonization has distorted our tradition and the heritage at some point. So hence the issue of patriarchy. At some point, that's why it says that patriarchy has been there. It's because men has been patriarchal. But if we can check the heritage, how patriarchy manifests its ways, forms, and also that how our heritage, how tradition was this. So issue says that our African men were subjected to the patriarchy, because of how it was instilled to them because of the colonist capitalist state of South Africa being so. She understood the role of the woman in the struggle of their liberation. She didn't locate the liberation, the women's struggle outside the liberation, outside the class struggle, because this was based on the class. Africans were disadvantaged because of the capitalist system, then by colonial capitalist system. So if we can check all the clips that has been there, she always says, we, South people, my people. She didn't say women. Mama Winnie, she was a class struggle activist. You might not be able to put the terminology, but if you check the work she was done, she did. It was a class struggle. So the ideology, it was a class consciousness. So it's important to have the clarity that as a class, we must be able to show where we belong. We know that now South Africa, because of, we informed that there's a move, we have now more middle strata than the working class. So those contradictions as South African, we have to find themselves, how best do we manage the contradiction of the imagine of the middle strata, of us Africans. Because sometimes, well, most of the Africans, when they move now, become the middle strata of a multi-class. So the issue of the consciousness, it leaves them. So it's important for us to be able to have the historic background as we move on. We need to organize ourselves as a society and say how best can we ensure that we enable the equal rights, we say, we emancipate the women. So it's imperative to know that the isolation of the LGBTQI in the society, in our struggles, they have not been located in the forms. There are challenges that they are confronted on the daily basis in our society. The role that we can play to ensure that we, as well, we brought them back and we bring them in the struggles of that you are confronted of patriarchy as a whole. How best can we be so? So I'm saying, let's continue to engage and debate as you're confronted with the gender-based, the agitation and the mobilization of the working class is a critical challenge as you're confronted. So to develop our full potential, we confront the patriarchy.
From my side, I would say that, feminism has actually confused quite a lot of people within the society. As much as you've unpacked it to say, there are different kinds of feminism within society, but people tend to generalize it and make it to sound as if it's just feminism. But at the end of the day, those ideologies are very different, and what we believe in was, let's say, my feminism, my activism within feminism would be different to yours. And at the end of the day, we tend to think that it's actually one thing, but however, it's not. Also having to address the issue of the LGBTI community within communities, that I personally feel that it's conversation that needs to come up to the table and also need to iron out, because at the end of the day, that very same community belongs to the male counterpart, the female counterpart at the end of the day, and it's the same struggle, but they tend to actually get the double struggle at the end of the day. But thank you for actually highlighting that and saying that the struggles are actually the same. It's just for us to unpack it.
I would just like to share a a quote when we heard and when we learned of the death of Mama Winnie. A lot of us went onto the internet, in as much as the media was broadcasting a whole lot about her. I came across a quote on patriarchy in particular. It says, "The overwhelming majority of women accept patriarchy unquestionably and even protect it, working out the resultant frustrations not against men, but primarily against themselves, in their competition for men as sons, lovers, and husbands. Traditionally, the violated wife bides her time and offloads her built-in aggression on her daughter-in-law. So men dominate women through the agency of women themselves." This is so profound, you know? And to me, it, in simple, everyday language, says we should not just say women join hands together. It should not just be about the attack on men, but it brings so much home to us ourselves as women. In as much as Mama Winnie was the leader in society, not only speaking for women, but speaking for society in general. But I think what is important, me personally, what I'm drawing from this quote is to say that ari bankanyeng basadi gore re kgone go bankanya setšhaba sa rona. Let us interrogate and look at ourselves internally, because it's so sad even today. We are our own enemies. We are our own enemies. Let me leave it there.
Remember before Jan van Riebeeck them came to us, we had our own way as Africans, how we lived. Now I'm raising this because I needed you to give more clarity on what you meant when you said the system fed men with patriarchy, instilled that patriarchy. The system did that. But before the system, we lived, isn't it? We're chiefs, Sotos, Xhosa, Zulus living in homesteads, etc. But what was the role of the women then? And men? You could see that it's us then, as women, that also probably, based on tradition and religion, gave too much, I would say, power to men. Because men need to work the land, but women also work the land, but women need to be in the kitchens, isn't it? Looking after children and bearing children and being, they were deprived from really further developing and empowering themselves. But as time goes by, we evolved. And you mentioned it in women leading the marches, the passes and stuff like that. But I think when you look at the role of the women in the house, you can see how powerful women actually are. They are managing houses, they are heads of houses, but of course representing the men part of it. But I would wanted you to relate that to the current situation of women. That's in the past. Ne? Currently, what is prevailing? Why are we not able to can mobilize ourselves, to have more trust in ourselves, to produce women, that caliber of women to lead? We have capable women. Why, when it comes to men, we always don't have a good reasons as to why this man must lead? But when it comes to women, we say that woman is not capacitated. That woman is not capable. Why are we always so apologetic as women and seek approval from our males?
Something came to my mind, and the topic said class. Now, we need to ask ourselves, when we speak about the women that must represent, what I've learned throughout the years that, class can be divided in so many ways and can be actually defined in so many ways, where, race, wealth, and how you look and how you present yourself can be one of the factors for you to be one that emerge, especially when it comes to women. So we need to be very cautious on that, because how you look, how much you owe, what you have, and where you're from, what's your surname, is those things that also breaks women. Because automatically a woman that is wearing flops and coming in here will not be presentable to represent other women. You need to look a particular way. So that is also one of the factors that leads to the patriarchal, dominance to lead, because you need to look a particular way. And the kind of women you are, like to mention a few, once you identify as trans, once you identify as intersex, it's another issue. So those are the elements that women needs to really deeply iron out, because from what I've learned in the past is how you really look and how you present yourself. And that has led to a lot of leaders being, closed out. And it's something that is really bothering our movement as well. If you look into our movement, there's a particular way you have to present yourself. There's a particular way, you get how your accent, how you articulate yourself. That makes a lot of leaders to be left behind because of the standard and the class characteristics that are there, that leads to such struggles to overcome other struggles.
I do appreciate the inputs and the reflection on the presentation. Like I said when I started saying this is where the Festival of Ideas comes in, where we engage and move. And I think going forward, you have raised is important for self-cultivation. You need to read more. This is what triggers to go once when you move out of here, go and read more about the history and the role of the women in South Africa. So as I move on and zoom in, says because of in the proliferation of the narrative that is there in the media, the woman's role in the liberation and in the class struggle is underrated. Whereas when I presented, you can see that the women were in the forefront. And when I zoom into Mama Winnie, she led the campaign of release Nelson Mandela. She was in the forefront. But it's underrated. Her role in the liberations and the class struggle is underrated. So you can see that that's why I'm saying it's important for us not to rely on the media. Go deep and read more on the books that are there. You see, I've not spoken. There are so many women who say Alexander Simon. She works intensely in your province, in Port North. In her book, she's a former trade unionist, a communist activist. She worked in Port North. In her book, Dresden, she stayed there in Port North for about 2 to 3 months, mobilizing the women, mobilizing society broadly. So, but you will not see in the media, formal media and the social, or the consecutive media, but it means that you must go and read, get books, read more people who are researching about them and be able to see in the roles of Francis Barton. So those are I'm just raising. So you can see that that's why I want to say really as South Africans, we didn't do justice. We didn't, even young people who are studying, who are doing masters. They were supposed to have gone and made the research, myself included. I'm also one of the students, supposed to have gone and ensured that the role of Mama Winnie is not found in the periphery of the history of the struggle, like it is today. The Mama Winnie, she didn't locate the struggle, her role in the struggle and in the liberation outside the class struggle. So maybe perhaps you are right, and there was we have to make a presentation on the class struggle, on the class itself, the class struggle. We unpack how class is, because you start imperialism, which is the highest form of this is how states accumulate wealth, capitalism, then the working class, and then the way we form the middle strata, where is a patriotic bourgeoisie, parasitic bourgeoisie, so that we can be able to understand the role of the class itself, and then where the class, the working class and the poor are down there, are still being subjected to the cruel form of capitalist system that is there. So this is how I'm imposing this thing. So I'm going to you, all of you, trigger to go to one more. And then I said, maybe after the class struggle, we have to go and read about dialectical materialism, because materialism is how it changed, move person from this class to this, because we have accumulated, I have more money, I'm this, now I'm moving from this, you go there. And then it's how this, where we see the fashion of class materialism, where these young people of today, they want to see themselves in fresh cars. They're in a hurry to accumulate. As I want to start work now, and as I work, I want to buy a car. I want to see. This is, and some of them, they end up being subjected to exploitation by those who have money. Because to me, in the African heritage, as I've been listening to the scholars of the African heritage studies, they are saying, they demystify the issue of patriarchy that is there in Africa, because says, by the language expressions themselves, you could go to the narrative, different languages that sways, where the idioms of the Africans, it will say how it embraces women in those positions. So I don't want to venture that too much, because I have not really run research about the heritage, the origin of the African heritage here. But the little that I've read and what I've been here, the presentation by the scholars and the students of the African heritage, they tells us that, and then they says, women were embraced, the issue of patriarchy, like I said, where it says capitalism, where they wanted to divide the class, this working class, where they put men there and women there, and see men must see themselves as superior to women, is how they be able to venture. So it's easy for them to be able to exploit more and to extract a profit from them. So it's important, and says, to me, I still believe that the issue of patriarchy, what is being distorted by the colonialists, because of most of the history that is being presented by the colonialists, is where one says this patriarchy started actually with the Africans. Who said, but ask myself, but we have the queens. The reign queens there's been, if Asian regime, she has been there leading the society. So the issue of this sense is the patriarchy started from the Africans. So when we move to issue of not electing women, so it's an issue not really grappling with the issue of patriarchy. Maybe itself you have to do justice at some point, just to unpack patriarchy, the origin of patriarchy, the role of patriarchy in the family and in the society, and in all organizations, how it manifests itself in a different form of shape. So because of, to me, it's a social construction. Maybe it's a time for us to social reconstruction of the society. So it's important when we reconstruct the society consciously and be able to ensure how best we move forward. The role play that you used to say, when you know that men have to do certain things, women have to do certain things. That's why the gender consciousness is key. Maybe perhaps the issue of feminism has been, I know it was not really presented obviously. I'm not embracing feminism because feminism embraced women outside the society. So to me, as what it says, NDR seeks to embrace all society. It says non-sexist. There's no sex in the NDR. There's no race. So once you see yourself as a feminist, then you see yourself outside the society. I'm not saying that we are downplaying the issue of women. We are downplaying the issue of patriarchy. I'm not saying that, you have to see, but the danger of raising the feminism is there. Once you isolate the women's issues outside the society. So that's why it's important for social reconstruction for all of us. So for that, I'm saying thank you very much for participating, and let's continue engaging. Thank you very much.
I would also just like to highlight some of the gains or the leads that we have made as a province in the issue of women representation within leadership. We have been the only province that has a female premier, ANC premier within the country. We have the only provincial chairperson of the ANC Youth League in the country that is female. It is only now that Free State and Mpumalanga is female premiers after the resignation of Comrade Ace and DD. Now we have 3 female premiers, which is something that should be also celebrated, Comrade Mase. And last night I had the opportunity to watch a reflection on the life of Comrade Winnie by Mzwa Kembuli, always very emotional and touching for all of us, and also the PA of Comrade Mama Winnie, Zodwa Zwane. And something just touched me in what she said there yesterday. She said that Mama Winnie once said to her, not long before she passed, she said that if a person has not felt that the Lord is not with them in a struggle, then that person has not gone through pain. She said that if that person, she felt sorry for people who have never asked God, where are you when it hurts so much? She said they say that she went and experienced so much pain to a point whereby she would ask, where is this God when we are going through so much pain? Whose God is this? Who is this serving? Why is it that a people can oppress another people? But there is a God which we should embrace and say is there for all of us. And that was something very profound and emotional for us to draw lessons from. And we continue to celebrate the life of Mama Winnie amidst of all the negative publicity the imperialist media is trying to push. You must understand that the imperialist media never loved Mama Winnie. Even from the time when Mandela came out, they never loved her. And Mama Winnie remains the mother of the nation, and she was even the father of the nation in the absence of our fathers while they were in Robben Island. She was on the ground leading the mass for the attainment of their freedom out of Robben Island. And I would just like to reiterate that indeed Mama Winnie has not died. She has multiplied. She is here next to me and all over the room and all over South Africa. We must just continue to do and improve where she left off. I would like, with those few words, just to thank everyone for your participation and attendance. Thank you very much.